Hi, I'm from Luxome's marketing department. Really just want to show you a real view of our Luxome blankets. A lot of companies have a lot of fluff. Really what users want to see, I know from myself and my wife, is just the real deal. Like the blankets in the raw, in the wild. What is the deal? Not all the fluff. So that's what I'm going to show you today. First of all, this is my bed. Uh, you can see I use the big blue blanket. That is the Minky two-sided with a cover, the blue and the gray. And my wife uses the Minky bamboo. Um, so let me just go through a few of the features. The first thing is the fabric. The fabric makes a huge difference in the blanket. First of all, this is not rigid at all. It flows with you. Same with this. Minky, not rigid, very flexible, flows with you. Other blankets, a couple that come to mind, Blankwill, Gravity blankets. They're very rigid because the fabrics are such poor quality. The fabrics are like, you can even see them in their pictures when they're stacked. You've got like a part of the blanket sticking up because it's so rigid. I mean, who wants to sleep with a rigid, with a rigid blanket? So ours, because of the quality of the fabric in the inner blanket, it's really flexible. It moves with you. It's very soft. The other thing is weight bunching. Our blankets do not bunch at all. You can see I'm holding it here. It maybe goes down this much. I could feel the edge right here because we have so many ties in our blankets. So maybe a tiny, tiny bit. I mean, there's going to be some. But other blankets, if you compare them, the blanket, if I did this, the blanket would be all the way over here. Because we include ties, and they're short ties, the blanket stays very close to the edge. We actually had one customer recently tell us that she actually got a blanket similar to this, and she wrote and said she never got the duvet cover, and that's because she couldn't even tell that there was a cover in her blanket because it's so well made. She couldn't even tell that there was a blanket inside the cover. She thought that this whole thing was just the blanket, and then she's going to get a cover. Another aspect and why she was confused is you could tell here, this is a hidden zipper. So it really is hidden. I mean, sometimes we've had to go along our own blankets like 4 or 5 times before we found it. You can see the seam. You really can't tell. And then it's just this little thing. And this thing here opens up along here, which I'll show you on the bamboo blanket because I'll have to put the phone down. And so the zipper's seamless. Other blankets have big teeth. It's annoying. You could really feel the seam. Our blankets, you really can't tell. We try and make it very smooth and seamless, flexible. You don't feel a lot of like bunching. You don't feel the teeth of the zipper. Now the bamboo, let me just show you this fabric. I mean, this is 300 thread count bamboo. Again, sorry about the wrinkles, but I mean, this is super soft. You can tell just by, it's very silky, very soft, natural, hypoallergenic, eco-friendly. This compared to the rigid fabrics of some of the other blankets I mentioned is just a world of difference. And again, the fabrics are the largest cost component of these blankets. For us to put an extra 2 pounds in with beads really costs next to nothing. So the fabrics are where all the cost is. We do not optimize for cost, we optimize for experience. Now the last thing, again, super important, the inner blanket is made of 233 thread count cotton. Why does that matter so much? Well, one of the largest complaints, along with weight bunching that I just showed you, is bead leaking. Amazon's 2 largest complaints. The 3 largest are probably, I bought too heavy, which our blankets are actually slightly lighter, weight bunching, which we've definitely solved, and the other thing is beads leaking. Those are 3 complaints we said if we design a blanket, we have to solve. And so the issue with beads leaking is right here. What happens is these are all stitched. The beads are stitched into pockets. And the beads, if I go like this, you can't, I still feel beads up here. I'm putting it completely vertical. Because we have filling in there, there's beads down here, but there's still a lot of beads up here, and you could barely feel the beads. If you look at like a Brookstone blanket, which are terrible, by the way, there's huge poly pellets, like massive. Here, you can barely feel the beads. It almost feels like sand or something. I mean, you can't, there's really no noticeable beads in here. It almost feels just like little coarse things of sand. So really big difference. It doesn't feel like a bean bag. A lot of blankets feel like bean bags. So these stitches here, eventually, with cheaper fabric, they open up. And so the holes, it's the holes. When you wash them and over time and you use it with cheap fabric, our stitching is tighter, but also the biggest thing is the density of the thread count. 233 thread count density, over wear and tear, those holes were still gonna stay smaller because there's more threads per width and height or per square area, which creates a greater thread density. So those holes don't open up and create bead leaking. Other manufacturers, they just say 100% cotton inner. Well, what you should know in the industry, 100% thread count is essentially a way to market really cheap cotton. That just means I bought the cheapest cotton possible, so I'm just gonna tell you it's 100% cotton because I can't tell you that it's any better. So you'll notice thread counts on all of our blankets, 233 thread count cotton. This is significantly more expensive to produce than the competitors that are 100% cotton. So with that, I'll leave you. This is the Luxome weighted blanket.